Time is now. The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great.
All right, welcome to the first episode of Believe Podcast. I am your host, Leonardo Fidalgo, and I welcome you guys to this podcast. I decided to create this podcast to be able to share some life experiences that I had, learn to become a better person with you guys, with my stories. The main goal here is pretty much divulge into life experiences, mindset development, and everything that has to do with becoming a better human. You know, I really believe this world gets better when you become better. So I'm here to not just help you, but help myself as well with all the experiences and everything I share here and talk about. Because sometimes when you talk about things, you kind of discover yourself. When you talk about certain subjects, you discover yourself, your thoughts, and you kind of get a different perspective at life and all the things that you can talk about. I decided to give this name Believe because that's something we all must do. Believe in ourselves, in our capabilities, in our strength to go after our goals and dreams. And not everybody has it. Uh, Not everybody has that belief in themselves. And I really believe that belief is something you have to build. Um, I did. I didn't have much self belief, to be honest, um, because of all my childhood stuff that happened. I want to make this podcast a journey. I want to make this podcast something that people search for to develop themselves, help people, help myself while talking to you guys. Um, and while listening to comments and I don't know, stories, I'm going to invite people here, athletes, coaches, everybody actually. I doesn't need to be in the bodybuilding world. I'm fascinated. I'm really fascinated to talk to everybody. I'm a really open-minded person in terms to listen to ideas, and I really am someone who's interested in learning and seeing different points of view. It might not be that my point of view, but I will explore it in order to be able to understand the most out of your point of view. It might not be mine, I might not agree with it, but I will explore it. I have no, like, I don't know, I'm just interested in life and what life has to offer, how many choices you have, how many mindsets, different mentalities, different values, different beliefs. And I like to explore it. It's a really interesting subject. So, what you can expect from here and watching and listening to me in this podcast is, I don't know, just something you can relate. I'm here to help people. The best way to do it, I think it's telling your story and let people know you and relate with some things that happen throughout your life and all that. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm Leonardo Fidalgo. I had a pretty different uh, childhood. I was a pretty negative person uh, because my parents did not believe that much in my capabilities. I don't blame them honestly because I was a pretty lazy person, negative. I had a negative mindset. I it's just I was just not a if I had a friend like that, I wouldn't be around him that much. It's pretty depressing and it starts to kind of make you feel sad for him. And I don't know. I would just like to be with some people that are positive and confident and that want to pursue their dreams and not talk bad about others or saying that things are impossible to get and give up at the first thing that happens. You know. So I was that kid. Not a lot of support to change, honestly. Not a lot of role models, especially in terms of diet. That was a really, it still is in my family, a really bad thing. Um, which is kind of normal. I grew up in a small village and people don't have much knowledge there. So you kind of go for what people tell you, which is pretty bad sometimes. You start to really listen to what people talk about, especially in like family dinners and stuff, and uh, it doesn't make sense at all. I don't know where they get that information, but I think it's pretty funny and not funny at the same time. It's funny because when you start to learn about nutrition and all that, you kind of know what is wrong and right? So when they say that, it's funny because you know how crazy that is and funny. But it's not that funny because people really rely on that and they will not listen to you, especially in my case. My parents, my grandparents, they won't listen to what I say in terms of diet and all that because I'm above them. You know what I mean? Like I'm just their grandchild or their son, and I don't have the authority to be able to tell them what's right or not. So yeah, and yeah, like I mentioned, I grew up in a small village, not much opportunity. I think like um, my when I went to first grade, like from first grade to fourth grade, I had like 8 people in my class, and me and a friend of mine were the only guys in the class. So just for you to see how small was the place I was born and raised in. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff when I travel and everything that I get really enthusiastic for to try or to see because I was never able to, I don't know, um, go much outside that place. Um, but yeah, that's one of the reasons I try to learn from everybody, especially in the beginning. The beginning, I learned a lot from internet and Google, and I really traveled a lot to be able to learn with people that really knew. And I'm always open to listen to people and to see their points of view and everything like that. So yeah, my childhood was that small village, fat, overweight, no. I mean, not a support system. My parents would help for sure. They would not tell me, "Oh, you're doing a good job. You can do that." Blah blah blah. But they would help me. They never said no. I always like didn't live bad, so I kind of had um, everything ended to me, kind of in the beginning. So that made me maybe a little more soft than the usual person. But yeah, um, I don't know. That was a phase in my life that I was pretty depressed around like 14 because I didn't have any girlfriend and I was fat and you know all that BS. But yeah, wanted to. I went to dark places for sure in that time. Then my parents start to worry about because I was talking about. They start to worry about me because I was starting to talk about taking my own life. I'm not proud of saying that, of course, but that was the reality. Because life was so bad for me, apparently. I just didn't see it that clear at that time, you know? I had it good, not the best, but not the worst. not for sure. For sure, not the worst. But yeah, they put me into a psychologist. I think that it's what it's called, right? But yeah, they put me there, and she made me realize that I don't know. She helped me learn that I really had really had something against my not against my parents, but I wanted to prove them wrong or something, or I don't know. It's kind of weird. I kind of wanted to care about me. I don't know. I wanted to be cared about. That's what I wanted um, overall for someone, because I felt so kind of lonely and that no one really cared about me, honestly. Um, but yeah, after that, I broke my leg actually. So in that time, I was pretty low in life. It was after like all that depressive thing happened. My grades were pretty bad. Uh, I had like I was like having I was not gonna make that year for sure. But that was in half of semester, and in that time I broke my leg, and I was pretty fat. So I decided that's where like my mindset completely changed out of nowhere. I mean, not out of nowhere, but at that time I decided just to focus on not getting focus on passing all the subjects in school. So that first semester I was able to, um, and then I recovered from my broken leg. That while I was recovering, I started to watch some YouTube videos about the aesthetics and fitness, and I really liked those guys, the bodies and all that. Like it's kind of sounds weird though, but yeah, I really imagine myself having that body and wondering what it's like to be like that. Looking at the mirror and be proud of yourself, be proud of what you look like, what you achieved, because it takes a lot of work and dedication to achieve those bodies. And at that time, I'm probably bigger than those guys right now. But at that time, those guys for me were like my life goal, because I was fat and those guys have abs, look like models, and all that. So after I got good from my leg, I remember weighting myself, and I was 14, and I weighed 100 kilos. That's a lot for a 14-year-old kid. And I remember being so fat and ashamed. And when I saw those 100 kilos in the my scale, that was a mind switch for me for sure. So from then on, I every day I work towards being better. I started to search for nutrition, workouts, everything, learn by myself. And I remember getting back to normal life after breaking my leg and just go for walks, go for runs, go on my bike and do like trails. And I remember losing like 10 kilos in 1 month. The first month, I really put all my heart into that. I lost like 10 kilos. So moving forward a little, like 4 months later, 4 or 5 months later, I was about 73. That was the lowest point I got. And my diet wasn't that good. I mean, it was good and healthy, but it was not the best because I didn't know much about dieting. So my last meal would be some cheese with mango or something really weird. Like I did not have understood the macro thing. That time macros wasn't even like a thing yet. Yeah, so that was pretty much my beginning. Then a year after, I started to work with a coach, a bodybuilding coach, and went to see. First, I went to see my first show, bodybuilding show, and I kind of enjoyed it. I saw those guys on in person, the guys I saw on YouTube, uh, looking like that in person, and it was like fascinating. Like the skin is so tight, and you can see all the details, and it's awesome. So I started to work as with a bodybuilding coach. I turned to my parents and I said, I want to try this really hard. And they saw my transformation, and that's where they start to little bit believe me. I did. They never said, "Oh, you're doing good. That was impressive." None of that. But you kind of understand that they start to, okay, he's taking this serious. Let's support him with what we can. We don't tell him he's doing good, but we'll help him with stuff. So I got a bodybuilding coach. They helped me pay for that, of course, because I was still in school. Um, yeah, and that's where I started my thing. I was 17 when I started. No, 18 probably. Um, and then I competed when I was 20. I remember there were 3 years in between when I started and when I competed. So I was probably almost 18 and almost 21 when I competed. So yeah, and as soon as I put my foot on that stage, I just remember being at home. Like was the first time I was stepping on a stage in my underwear, my trousers, or my trunks. I think it's trunks, right? I don't know. But yeah, I was almost naked in front of a lot of people, and I felt like home. I didn't feel any pressure. I didn't feel like people were looking. I was just there to show my work, the art of posing, and I felt like never before. I felt really at home doing what I really, really liked and loved. So after my first show, I had a second show 5 weeks later. Pretty burned out from dieting because I was dieting for 6 months for the first show. Um, so for the second show, I was pretty bad mentally. I was pushing myself every day, questioning my decisions about if I should give up on the dieting and all that. I have a food compulsion. So I was doing like 3 days, zero carbs. And the end of the third day, I would eat two old boxes of cereal. And then I would repeat that cycle and tell myself the same thing I did every day. And at the third day, always I would tell myself, you deserve some cereal. And I would eat it. So once the show was over, the second show, I was so devastated because I had a worst result. I got fifth. The first show I did, I got third. Yeah, so I was so devastated and disappointed at myself for not following the diet, not following the plan. And yeah, I remember being so sad at my something that I never felt in the last years, just on when I was like pretty down in my teenage years. And I remember um, saying to myself, the next time you step on stage, you have to be better at everything. And that includes physically, mentally, and emotionally. So from now on, you're not only going to train your body, you're going to train your mind and your emotions. So you have the complete package because I think champions work on so much more than their physique. In this sport, especially this sport, I think there's a lot of mental and emotional stuff involved. And I think it's more important at some point than the physical stuff. Yeah, so since then, I've been trying to become a better human, better person every single day. And that's what this podcast is all about, I think. Sharing with you guys my experience, talking about life, about different subjects, bringing people on that can share their story, share experiences, and I mean, I do this to help you guys, but I also do to help myself, because with this we can learn from each other and become better. Um, but yeah, since that day, my first competition, I've been just trying to become a better human, have a better relationship with food, uh, control my emotions, be grateful. That's a big thing for me. Um, some things happened in my personal life the last years that made me really be grateful and see life as a gift, if you know what I mean. Like, doesn't mean if you're having a bad day or having problems, you always have problems. But you gotta look at the problems as an opportunity to rise and to become a better human, become a better person, stronger person. People say, if you endure the storm, after comes the rainbow. So that's true. I just sometimes storms, like problems, seem not to ever hand. Like, you gotta challenge or a problem that seems to have zero solutions, and you just push through it, and one day you wake up and there's a solution for that problem. And when there was no hope, you created it. So that's pretty cool. um and yeah, that's pretty much. I want you guys to enjoy this ride with me. I know it's my first podcast, my first episode, and I'm really fresh on it. It's my first time doing this as well, like speaking alone in front of a camera. So I don't know if I did good or not. It's just accept that I'm only starting. I'm trying my best, believe me. And that sometimes I divulge a little because I got a little too excited. I have a lot of things going through my mind all the time. So sometimes I kind of get lost in my own ideas and try to get it out all at the same time, and comes becomes a little confusing. So I'm going to do my best to explain myself the best way. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. We're going to have more episodes and more stuff coming out, more subjects and stuff that I want to talk about, more guests. Um, and that's pretty much it. Hope you guys liked it. Subscribe, share, and I don't know, tell me what you think about this, about the podcast, and everything. Let me know if I help you in some way. And thank you guys. See you next time.